Hello and welcome to Breath Weapon X. So, for our very first Game Pass review, this is a very fortunate one for me because this has just dropped on Game Pass, and this is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, this is a game I am very familiar with. I played over 20 hours on PC, and then I got my Xbox and I bought it again, and I played over 40 hours on that. So I like to think I'm fairly well versed in what this game is. So where to start? What is it? It's a historical fiction RPG that is heavily based on Greek myths, but it certainly does put its own spin on things. One of the kind of big things about this is that it's a deceptively old game. This is actually from 2018. Now, I certainly, without looking that up, I would not have guessed anywhere near that. 2020 maybe, but 2018 this came out, and it has aged remarkably well in my opinion. Yes, sometimes it's a bit janky, and the visuals aren't the most amazing thing in the world, but it's still, nevertheless, a very pretty game. It's based heavily on the Greek myths, but it does put its own spin on things. From what I've seen, and certainly in the base game, the myths are they're quasi real. There are some really fun side quests where they really go in on them, and they do things like there's one side quest where you have to hunt a load of mythical creatures for Artemis, or in honor of Artemis, and you play like the Cathalonian boar or the Nemean lion, and you hunt these things. So they are. Are they mythical, or are they just a big boar, a big lion? Who knows? That question's out there, but you certainly are able to slay them. So it definitely lives in the world of Greek myth, but I think it keeps everything relatively real and based in reality. And obviously I think the elephant in the room is how much Assassin's Creed has changed since the original game came out. It has changed an awful lot. Kayana was very linear, and now it's become this whole massive open world RPG thing. So from a story point of view, what does the story do well? Well, I played as the female version, and the voice acting is really strong, very good. I have heard rumours that the male wasn't quite as good. So I think it's worth bearing that in mind, but apparently in this version of the game, it's the female voice actor who is the strongest. If you are interested in Greece and Greek mythology, you will love this game. From my point of view, I love Greek myths. I love having been to Greece, I absolutely loved it. So it's definitely something to be said for going over for going through the world and seeing it. There are islands that I've visited. It's very exciting, and it's lovely to see this whole great big world, which I'm going to come back to later. The plot, there are some very predictable plot points. I think it's not a groundbreaking story. It's not exactly, it's not like it's not their magnum opus, but it's a serviceable story. It kept me coming back. I've been playing this game for so long because I want to kind of get through the story and see what happens and meet all the characters and things like that. I think it's very, it's a bit, it goes to its roots. It's a bit of a Greek, it's got a Greek tragedy elements, it's got humour elements in that. But also, I think one of the strongest things about the story are the side quests. The side quests seem real. They don't seem tacked on. They're certainly not fetch quests or things like that. It really is about going around and meeting people and doing things like that. So that's very exciting. However, I would say that the choices you make in the story generally, whilst not seeming to have an enormous impact, certainly drag you into the story. There's one moment early on where you have to make a choice whether a big character lives or dies, and you can either be merciful and free him, or you can not be merciful, quite frankly, and kill him. And this choice, whilst not necessarily having obviously I don't know how big an impact it has on the wider world, but it allows you to really role play what's going on. You really are able to say, no, I want to do it like this because my character will do X, Y, Z. which is really cool aspect of that. So you do feel included in the story. However, is it that impactful? Probably not, is my guess. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these open world games where they give you, paragon choices for a lot. A lot of time they feel very meaningless. I think it's only a few games that have really done it right. And I think back to Infamous and Fable, who are the ones that these impact and story choices make a difference to the grand scheme of things, which, don't get me wrong, from a developer point of view, I understand why you wouldn't. But if you're going to give me choices, I like to feel like I'm making a difference to the world. Couldn't be playing a game set in Greece without talking about the love options. Obviously, a lot of fun. Don't worry, you've seen nothing too graphic. And there are no love options cut off from you whether you are playing the male or the female character, which obviously in this day and age is expected, but I think it's still good to say that you can do that and it doesn't matter. They can be a lot of fun. Obviously, a lot of them are kind of buried in side quests. There was one in particular that stood out to me where you had a couple of brothers who were both interested in you, and you could either try and play them both and see if you could romance both of them, or you could try and romance one and let the other one down, and it was quite fun. So I think it feels good in that sense. The love options feel like there's things going on that makes it interesting, to say the least. So, and lots of options, funny options, serious options. People, you're like, oh, my character wouldn't be interested in him or her, and vice versa. I played my character as a Lothario. She was interested in everyone, and that made it a lot of fun, in my opinion. Kind of going on to combat. Now, I think this is a bit of a funny one. You definitely see a difference between the early game combat and kind of the mid to late game combat. And it comes in two different scenarios. We've got the land combat, which obviously is land. It is fun, however, it is somewhat repetitive. There are combos they ask you to do, but ultimately, it's button mashing. If we tell you that, if I'm brutally honest, it's button mashing. It's not very exciting. You press the right bumper over and over again until someone dies. Sometimes you press the right trigger. Whoa, we'll have to calm down there. The other problem in my eyes with combat is it is so easy to cheese. There's a move you get very early on called the Spartan kick, and basically all you do with that is it's a big kick. It's like 300, you wham, you kick them. Now the amount of kind of encampments and things I cheesed by just and mercenaries as well. So you get these mercenaries that follow you around the world who are meant to be quite challenging, who generally are definitely more of a challenge. And when you start facing two of them in once, that gets very scary. But going back to this kick, so you'd go up to a tall building, and the next thing you know, you're just bam kicking people off and having them fall to their death. Which, whilst I suppose realistic, it took something out of the combat for me, to be honest. Made it all a bit simple. It made it too easy, and you definitely feel a point where you become overpowered. There's a healing move which is necessary, but once again it makes you overpowered, and it's a balancing act, because without that healing move this game's impossible, but with it it's also kind of boring. So there have been times I'm running low on health, so I just hide for a bit and wait for my healing move cooldown to reset. But the combat's still fun. It's fun. You feel like a complete... Well, you are technically, supposedly a demigod, and you feel like that. You can take on a whole battalion of men by yourself, no problem. Now, the naval combat is where I really lose interest in this game. And funnily enough, whilst playing, I suddenly have this naval combat mission to do. And you can see here what I'm doing. I'm dismantling a load of things I've collected in order to get more resources. Now, you need these resources to make your ship better, which you need to make better because then you need to win naval combats. The naval combat is repetitive and dull and too easy if you're one-on-one and too hard as soon as you're not one-on-one, pretty much. You have to ram the other ships and shoot arrows at them and all of that, and whilst avoiding damage. And here I am trying to upgrade my ship, and I can't really do any upgrades, despite the fact I've got 1,700 leather and 13, almost 1,400 ore. I have only 268 wood, so I can't upgrade anything. It's just tedious, quite frankly. It's tedious and it's not very exciting. You can also hire these special lieutenants. What do? They plus 3% damage, plus X, plus Y. Who cares, man? Boring. There's some skins. Now, if you download it from Game Pass, you'll definitely get some of the skins because there's all sorts of things like that. And as you'll see later in this video, now I've made it so that all my crew have little top hats and coats and they look like they're little Victorian badasses. So that's fun. That's a fun thing. But for me, the naval combat is boring and it distracts. And I remember when Black Flag came out, because it was a PS4 launch title, and I was so excited. Oh, Black Flag, you get this, you go pirating. And I remember I got really bored of it after about 5 to 10 hours. You go, okay, I've been a pirate for a while now. I'm ready to move on. And the naval combat is less interesting than this, quite frankly. So, yeah, from a combat point of view, land combat, generally good, more good than not good. Naval combat, bad, in my opinion. Now, the other thing, and this almost seems like a bit of an unfair gripe, but the size of this game, it is huge. The map is enormous. You have most of Greece covered, and you have to just go through it. And now, whilst the world does, like I say, the side quests feel real, the people feel real, it's definitely not a negative from a point of view of what's in the world. There's so much to do. You've got bounties, you've got bounties, you've got encampments, you've got bandit camps, you've got strongholds, you've got all these things that you need to take and take down and blah, blah, blah. All these little side projects that you can do. And I remember when I started this game, I was religious with it. I was like, no man gets out of here alive. But as I've gone through this game, I now can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. It's boring. It's just filler. And that is kind of how it feels. This game, from the point of view from someone with a job who has things to do, this game is just enormous. There's too much, and I think the next clip's really going to show that. Because here you can see a list of active quests I have right now, and I know a lot of them are like uncover this and that, but look at this. That's ridiculous. Some of them I still can't do. I'm not high enough level to really have a go at doing. There's so many things to do in this game. It's mad. So I think the way to describe this game is that at times it feels really overwhelming. It feels like it's one of those things, you know, when you've got too much work to do. So you're just like, I'm not going to do any of this. There's no chance of me completing it, so I'm just not going to bother. That's how this game feels at times. And you can see I'm just going through a town, I'm navigating it, and suddenly, oh, well, there's some people I can assassinate. And when I talk about combat as well, it's this move that's so overpowered. So it's like a ranged assassinate move. So you can chain it. So you chain it, you kill one, you kill the other. And it one-hit KOs most enemies. There's a few it won't, but for the large majority. So you can go around like a big encampment. You just... Well, I've got it mapped out to right bumper B, B, chain. You've killed 5 or 6 people. It's not rewarding. It's not fun. It's just something you have to do. And the stronger you get, and I know this is a problem for a lot, it becomes really difficult in an RPG, and I do sympathise with that, to balance things like that. But the stronger you get, you lose interest. It stops becoming fun, the concept, and it becomes grindy, because it's not posing you a challenge. It's just something you have to do in order to do the next thing. And yeah, I've gone hot and cold on this game. It's a game you will quite happily sit there and play for 4 hours straight and go, oh man, that was so much fun. And then you won't touch it for a week or 2 weeks or a month. I haven't played this game before today in forever. And I played it just to record this footage. So I think it's almost a bit unfair to say I want it to be a bit smaller. But from a point of view of someone, and this naval battle can go and do one, quite frankly. From the point of view of someone with a job, with things to do, with being busy, it's hard to commit to a game this size. It really is, and it's hard to commit for a game where you might have to do some travelling. So you're going to spend 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes scrolling on your phone, travelling to the next area. That's not fun gameplay, man. So I think coming on to this kind of the ending of this video, what am I after from here? So what's my advice? Is this game worth putting your time into? the answer ultimately is yes. If you are a fan of Greece or Greek myths and all of that, this game is fun. This game is a good time. It's not easy to complete, and you'll be going through it over and over and over again. You'll be playing bits and you'll drop it in, but over the course of a long time, yeah, it's fun to pick up here and there. Then again, having said that, I've had it over a year and I've not finished it. That certainly tells you something about this game. I haven't really got a rating system yet, which is probably something we're going to have to work on. But for this, I find it difficult. I think it depends on you and what you like. If you are into your Greek myths and all of that, then yeah, I highly recommend it. If not, maybe pick smaller games if you've got a lot going on at the moment. And yeah, so undecided. You know what? I'm putting it. Yes, play the game. It's fun. There are love options. There's RPG elements. Maybe you like the sailing stuff. Maybe it's just not for me. Enjoy it. Have fun. Tell me what you think. As we do these, it would be really fun for you to be able to leave some comments and put some things in there. So yeah, thank you. If you could leave a comment, I'd really appreciate that. And just thank you to everyone. Thank you to the people on Patreon for staying with us and listening with us. And I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks. But there's more. I'm going to explain our rating system. So the worst of the worst are lesser dragons. Then we're going to have common dragons. There'll be okay games, but not great. Then greater dragons. Now we're looking at the good stuff. If a greater dragon is good. And last of all, epic dragon is the best thing. So to cap this off, the wonderful, most exciting game of Assassin's Creed Odyssey is going to be rated as... That's right, it's a greater dragon. This game is definitely good. It is worth playing. This isn't one that you're going to throw away. Like I say, 40 hours. I'm mad, innit?